Hey everyone, so it's been a while since I've done like a Music Minute video or really any other kind of video. So I thought maybe what I'd do now is show an approach to songwriting. It's not the approach I always use, but it's one I use sometimes. And of course, I'm not, like any sort of famous songwriter. I'm just a guy who writes songs. But possibly this can help if you're just getting into songwriting or if you feel yourself stuck sometimes. This method contains some random elements, sort of akin to when I do the piano improv stuff. And literally it involves just kind of placing my hands down on the keyboard in just kind of a shape. I won't even look at the keyboard. I'll just pop my hands down, see what happens, and we'll go from there. All right, here we go. Okay, now that was, again, a random placement, but who knows how much my subconscious played a role, in making a shape that sounded like this. So basically, we've kind of got a C sharp minor 9. What do I sort of feel like should come next? That kind of works. So there, after the C sharp minor 7, I basically went to an F major chord, keeping the C sharp in the bass. Sorry, F sharp major chord. And then I went to a D sharp minor chord. So we essentially have our 1 in the case of we're considering our key C sharp minor. We have a 1 and then a major 4 and then our minor 2. Again, for what it's worth, I'm not really thinking in terms of chord progression right now or function. I'm just kind of letting my ear guide. Partly just using a melodic idea. Da, 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 da. All right, so there, after the minor 2, I went to a G sharp minor. And ended up using the bass to kind of determine the following chords. So G sharp minor, I guess, slash F sharp, and then lowering the bass to E, which then creates kind of an E major 7 chord. And that led me back to the F sharp chord, which then I'm kind of hearing. So now I've got a kind of cool little chord progression. Whether this is going to be intro or not, I have no idea, or a verse, or a chorus for that matter. So we got our C sharp minor 7, F sharp major, and then to the D sharp minor, G sharp minor 7, G sharp minor 7 slash F, and then to the E major, but that kind of sounds cool. This I'm basically doing B major 7 with an E in the bass, then going to the E major. I could keep it major 7. I kind of like that. Okay, so that works. I'm just going to jot down C sharp, minor 7, F sharp, and then to D sharp minor, G sharp. That's really like a minor 9, G sharp minor 9 / F sharp, and basically a B major 7 / E to an E major 7, right? Now, then I can take that E major 7 and use that as a launching pad for another section. So what I did that time, I went back to the C sharp, but instead of a minor 7, I made it a dominant 7. Okay? That has the opportunity to lead us into a whole new tonal area. We could imply that now we're going into an F sharp or G flat area because this D flat or C sharp major is going to be the 5. So this turns out to be D sharp minor chord with an F sharp in the bass, or it could be considered an F sharp 6 chord. Either way, I like the sound. So we went from here and there. I'm just going to keep it a simple 2-chord progression. So we've got this F sharp 6 chord to our G sharp minor 7. But I'm using this sort of movement in the middle notes so it first doesn't establish until I hit that note, and that becomes the 3rd of our major chord. And then we can just go right back to the beginning part. So even though we kind of diverged to a slightly different key area, we still kept it generally in the same kind of family, the C sharp, F sharp sort of area. So that makes it nice, and it flows well from one section to the other. What I'm going to do now is just kind of come up with a real contrasting section. I'm going to get out of this C sharp, F sharp area completely and maybe move to something with a little more basic sort of feel chord-wise. One of the ways that I can move, say if I want to go from here, you can incorporate half-step moves to kind of make things spice up a little bit. And we could either go a half-step up or a half-step down, all right, which would mean do either a G chord or an A chord. So let's just kind of play around with some ideas here, all right? That kind of works, right? It's got a little whoa, you know, a little surprisey sort of thing. But half-step moves don't necessarily have to, even though they're far away as far as keys are concerned. You know, if you look at the circle of fifths, a G sharp and a G major are pretty far away. But there's something about half-step moves that actually feel fairly natural. And I'm just kind of messing around with some bass movement and see where that kind of leads. Nah. that's a fairly obvious move, you know, moving from G to D, 1 to 5. But now, it's not too far from that that D chord to our C sharp. Again, there's another half step move. Now we could probably make it a little smoother. No. One way to do this is by incorporating a common tone. So if we go from our G to D, now we know we're going to have basically an E, G sharp, B, and then D sharp if we're going back to the exact chord of the opening. So we could move this D up to an E, and that gives us a common tone with this C sharp minor 7. So and then perhaps we could move this A down to a G sharp, and that would give us sort of a double common tone. But I think there I'll make the move to our C sharp minor 7. It doesn't really sound good moving there. That doesn't work, but that works. We move to G, but now we got to make it work a little more gracefully. Maybe doing something like that. That worked. All right. So now we have two ways we can go. We could even do one G with F in the bass. This is basically like an E minor 7. Now, D suspended, G suspended 9, D9, and now that fits very nicely into this, back to the C sharp minor 7. But we could also go from this D9 back to our G. But now at this point, because we've developed this complex chord, I kind of like having a G major 7 now. It just seems a little too plain to go to a straight G chord at this point. So we can actually make this kind of happen in a couple different ways. Did our first G, F in the bass, E minor 7, the suspended, and then G major 7. Cruise back to the D. And make that 9, and this time, and go back to the beginning. What we've got is this progression that comes from the end of the first section. Okay, in the course of playing this through, as we got to the G major 7, E minor 7, E minor 9, I just kind of popped this, which is sort of like a D9, but it's missing the third, all right? But then we can work our way and we could either go back to the G major 7 part, or we can lead right back to the beginning. Okay, so now I think we've got something. So we've got that intro, C sharp minor 7 to F sharp, leading to the D sharp minor, G sharp minor 9, G sharp minor 9 with an F in the bass, and then the B major 7 with an E in the bass to E major 7. And then that can repeat just fine. Then the second time, we can head to that C sharp dominant 7, which leads us to this F sharp 6 chord, and then that to our, I'm just going to call it a G sharp minor 7, and then we're just going to jump to a G major. All right, again, there's that half step move. Those half step moves can really be cool. G, F in the bass to an E minor 7, then the suspended G9, and then into a G major 7 to an E minor 9, and I'm already kind of hearing this as something that could be used at the end as sort of a fade out, you know, fade out with some sort of solo going on or something like that. So, and that can lead to sort of a D9 without the third. actual D9. And that can either go back to the G major 7, or we can go right back to the beginning, our C sharp. All right, so here is the finished outline of our tune. All right, and then the next step is to come up with some lyrics, so we'll see what I can figure out. All right, thanks for your help with this.